Who's ready for some Taco Bell internet? Thanks, South
Yeah, dude.
Carolina.
What's up, everybody? Ricky, Bobby, and I have had a little bit of a hiatus. Bobby's
Yeah,
been out doing his thing, being a track day guy, and I've been riding bicycles down the state of California.
yeah.
So
You're alive.
sorry.
You're back. You
And
didn't get killed by any bums. Like, we're happy. Like,
no,
thank
dude.
you.
I mean, I nearly became a hoon ornament in Half Moon Bay. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
something.
that's such a
Um,
that's such an amazing feat, dude. That's how many miles? You said it was like 800 and some
no,
miles.
no, I did. I ended up with 600 and just shy of 630, I think. You're all,
Iron Butt Award.
630 something. Yeah. And then the other thing is that it's like 30, just shy of 32,000 feet of climbing. So
Dang, that's a lot.
right.
That's
Yeah.
insane, dude.
Yeah, it would
Congratulations.
flex my
It's a big
muscles
feat.
for you, but my arm muscles are like all veiny and weak. Like it's the leg muscles. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they were eating themselves over the next 500
dude, I tell
miles
you
after
what,
the first
man.
100.
I tell you what, the bicycle ride, like it wasn't. I had one day that was kind of difficult for me, and it was really due to like my right knee was like not stoked. And so like I ended up stopping on the way, like on the way to Cambria at like some little shack on the side of the road, like full on like honor system with the cash box with the arrow pointed, put the money you owe us in here. Like, so
Yeah,
I got this like CBD bomb from this little hippie shack like on the side of the road, and it was money,
yeah.
dude. It
Nice,
helped a
nice.
ton. So yeah, did 100 miles
That's
like
awesome.
100 miles a day like a couple days later, like did two in a row. That was kind of
Yeah,
neat. Yeah.
yeah.
And
That's
how was your
awesome.
track day at
Yeah,
Roebling,
well,
bro?
dude, it was awesome. We had one red flag, and a truck didn't even need to pick the dude up. He got back on in the
Lucky.
service road. Yeah. So Sammy, our homie Sammy Halpert, came down from Charlotte
Slamming
and
Sammy is a track day
slamming
junkie
Sammy.
now.
Oh, dude, we had the Moto 2 Street Triple out there, and he was ripping, dude. We couldn't get him off that bike. He was every session that came around to like an intermediate or advanced. He transitioned from intermediate to advanced because he had never been there, and then me and
Right.
him were having fun on the bikes. I got him. I got a good pass on him going into turn one, and
Enjoying it
you
while
know,
you
show
still can before he like figures
yeah,
out.
yeah. I was showing him some lines because he's still overslowing going on corner entry, and then he's really trying to round the corner off and get a straight line in the next corner. I'm like, dude, you got to get on the gas earlier, dude.
Did he
You're
like
losing
try to
so
let
much.
go of the, like forget the brakes and just huck the thing sideways?
He,
No.
he, he you could see he was trying to go left a lot. So,
Oh well, yeah. You jacked up his rhythm.
yeah. But
Nice,
it was awesome. He had a
nice.
blast. We had a great time. It was a good crowd. We had like 42 people when we were looking to have 45. So
Oh
not
wow,
bad. Almost sold out. Yeah,
that's a healthy track day, bro.
yeah, it was good because we didn't want we didn't want high numbers. We wanted to do about 15 per group, and everybody was raving about it. We had some great coaches. My buddy Jacob Sutter, shout out, and the Luces, Heidi and Will Luce came in, and they were amazing as well, and they really enjoyed it for their first time. So
Yeah.
yeah, customers are happy. We had Fahad from Precision Track Days stay over because my buddy James Bach had his Podium Motorsports Pirelli track day for the
Okay.
weekend. He cooked his whole hog, and I missed out on that, but I
You
had a
missed out
blast,
on
man.
a
It was such a
cooked
good time.
pig, dude.
Yeah,
Man,
because he does a Saturday night, and I have chicken coop duties that I got to do. So
chicken coop
we
duties.
got to get things ready before we get the house done. So,
Yeah,
but
dude,
anyways, dude,
it was crazy, dude. Like I just think of like how much I ate last week, dude. Like, dude,
yeah,
I couldn't eat enough. Like I was hungry from breakfast till the end every day. It was ridiculous.
yeah,
So,
I bet.
yeah, and
Well, speaking of hunger,
Chunky Buns is saying she missed out on you too on Monday. I
I know.
guess something. Yeah.
Yeah, she had to
So,
leave, and I couldn't get Shane his OEM part. So
oh well,
it's all good.
that sucks. Yeah, so
good.
dude,
But
since
anyways,
we've been out, like there's been a couple of MotoGP weekends. There's been like
yep.
World
World
Superbike
Superbike
stuff.
weekends.
One of them, Top Rack, was out. The other one, he was
Yep.
in.
Was in.
You know,
And
all
we had
MotoAmerica stuff. Like, where do you want to even get going, dude? Like,
man, you know, I kind of want to get to the Top Rack. I kind of want to
yeah.
get to the Top Rack. I mean,
Okay.
that was a
Oh
huge
shit!
story.
Who's this
Hey,
guy?
who's this guy? Whoa, whoa!
He's like reading.
I
He's
know
like
him as
reading
a.
text from somebody. What up, dude?
What's up? Sorry. I
Dude,
told you I was paying attention.
I told you we were just gonna
I
jump
was
you
paying
in, bro.
attention. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I'm here.
All right, everybody. So this is John from the Facebook group that everybody might know of. Ricky Bobby, you want to say the name of it?
Trackday Junkies Unleashed, because Trackday Junkies was boring, and
right.
John had to.
Yeah, I can remember right after that
spice
shit
things
started. I think it's been a few years now, but right after that, I was introduced to that. Like, I made that meme that said, "Trackday control writers or d-bags." Changed my mind. Like that one. That was fun. And then I was like, "Whoa, dude, those people are rowdy in there. They're like really took that shit personal." And I'm like, bro, like I've done track days for over 25 years. Like, calm down, okay? Like, yeah, like have a sense of humor, morons. Yeah. So, John, tell us a little bit about what you got going on, dude. Like, how'd you end up being this guy?
It was basically on pure accident. As with all good stories, right? Because all good stories start with there I was drinking and not eating a salad. So there I was drinking one night, and just kind of just surfing the internet as you do, right? And I think the regular Trackday Junkies page has a lot. There's like probably 20,000 people on it or so, and there's all sorts of white knighting or something like that. And then when a drama came through it, honestly, I forget what it was. I think it was back in 2017 or something like that. And somebody sold somebody a bike, right? And then like it blew up or something like that. But like, and then the seller knew a lot of people, and then it was like he said, and a typical Fallout deal, right? And anyways,
I know.
Yeah, so
that's my buddy John Rosinski.
Oh, well, whatever it was.
That was the Frankie Babushka bike. Yeah.
Was it? Was that the one that started it?
Jesus Christ, dude! Like, leave it to Ricky Bobby to know like useless facts
the whole
like
thing.
that shit.
Yeah. And and then it got like heavily moderated, and I was like sitting there, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to see like this drama unfold, right? Like let's see some like shit talking. And then I was just sitting there, I was like, fuck it, I'll just make my own page, right? Because what are you gonna do? And I had no originality, so I was like, I'll just call it. And I think I asked somebody, I forget who it was, and I'll just call it Unleashed. And anyways, it's supposed to be one of those things that's like, yeah, whatever, nothing's gonna come of it, right? And so I was like, yeah, I'll create it, and then the next morning I'm like, well, that was a dumb idea, you know what I mean? And then it's gonna die off, and then a week later nobody cares, and then it just stuck around, and that's it. That's it. And I kind of started it from the get-go. And then after a while, it cultivated and started, and it kind of takes care of itself. And I had a lot of disagreements, from people saying that, oh, you should do this or that or whatnot. But really, I just kind of stuck to the basics, right? Of like, I didn't want it to turn into another for sale page for people to sell shit. Largely because I think there's the hobby isn't big enough to sustain 10,000 different sale pages, and that one yard sale page is actually huge. So keep it there, and just so that way it's not clogged up, and then just keep it bike related, and then my long-term thinking, and like it's crazy to see it actually kind of come out to what it is now, and just kind of let it be the go-to shit talking place. And that's what it is. That's it, man. I wish there was more to it, and that was it. But now I was just sitting there aimlessly on my laptop watching TV, and I'm like, I'm just going to do this, and that was it.
That sounds like really familiar, actually.
Yeah.
Like, this is our shit talking place.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. So I would imagine that you're like super into watching the races, right?
So surprisingly, not really. It depends on which races. So I talk about this weekend. We were talking about this weekend. I was up at Jersey. I had to drop my bike off to Anthony Corbo at Boss Racing. And, I had to get an engine refresh, but it's saved me a lot of driving. I'm like, okay, I'll go out and hang out at Jersey for a couple hours. And So I was there for Saturday, dropped the bike off, and watched MotoGP. But a lot of the drama, I wouldn't call it like it's fake or staged or drama because it's real stuff, right? It's like real complaints, and every topic has had its time in the barrel, and the MotoAmerica app has definitely had its time in the barrel. And I legitimately I tried supporting that app for years, and I'm like, this thing is just garbage. Like, and I don't know if it's a Apple phone, because I have an iPhone versus Android or whatever, but like, it just wasn't reliable enough, and it annoyed me. And then they started posting the highlights reels on YouTube, hours after the races were done.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. I was watching it on YouTube. I already have YouTube Premium. I'll just watch it on YouTube for free, and it's condensed, right? And so I could see all the highlights anyways. And I'm like, it's saving me money. So now I just kind of watch that. The only one I do pay for is MotoGP. So that way I can watch the twists and turns and see Marquez get mechanical DNS. So that's the only one I pay for. So I don't watch World Superbike. Honestly, it's too much. And like you were talking about, like, dude, I don't have enough time to sit and watch probably 12 hours collectively of different races. There's just no time. So I do try to remain engaged. But it is funny. I was talking with some other guys today that when I go to MotoAmerica rounds, like, I know less of what's going on during that day because I'm usually talking to the guys you see, and say, hey, what's up, Bobby? Like talking to all your friends. You're not actually watching the races, and then you go and stand at one corner. You can't really watch everything. And then what do we all do? We wind up going to the TV where they have all the cameras at anyways. And you're like, well, fuck, I could be watching this from home and not have to be here. But so it's kind of funny just being there. You're not actually watching it. At least me, anyways.
I think that's, dude. I think that's pretty common. I mean, like, when I come in with the attack team, when I show up, I mean, dude, like, you watch the race from the pit box.
Yeah,
like,
and you just watch it on the TV.
TV, right?
Yeah, you watch the whole thing there. Yeah,
that's so funny. Yeah, that's true.
It's almost like it's better when you're working, because you actually have something to do and you're completely distracted. You're engrossed in it, and you're like, I'll watch it when I get home. You hear the announcers, you hear all that stuff going on. But
90% of my MotoAmerica watching is on Monday morning, the weekend after, when I'm sitting at work and just churning through emails and setting stuff up, and I just listen in the background and I catch up. And then if there's like a 1 minute or 2 minute clip, somebody crashes or overtakes, then I'll sit and watch it. But other than that, it's just kind of background. That's all.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. One of the things that I saw over the weekend, obviously, MotoGP was at Aragon like a month ago or something.
Yeah.
So I was curious to check qualifying times from.
GP. We all could have done Marquez's time, right?
Yeah.
So we could have done
that. Checking qualifying times with GP versus World Superbike this past weekend.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty interesting. Like, Bulaga did his stupid fast time, super pole, right? And then that would have put him like 6th in MotoGP. Like,
it is wild. So because of course, and I don't know where you guys intended to take this thing for tonight or whatever, but just kind of talk about the dynamics of the page. But like, you got all these different big topics that kind of come into play. And I love all kidding aside, everything about the Rossi and Marquez, like, clash, right?
Yeah.
But it's really solid. But all that shit talking aside, but truly, like, I think there's guys at that GP level, like, it's irrefutable that, and I'm not saying specifically one weekend or another, but kind of historically as a general trend, I think that every single one of those riders is truly kind of at the limit of the machinery, because you can watch Aprilia have a good weekend, right? And you're like, wait a minute, how is Aleix and Maverick 1 and 2 or 6 and 7? But anyways, they're like right next to one another, right? Like, that shouldn't be possible. And then, like, they have a bad weekend and then they're both dropping down. So it's kind of like, maybe these riders are like, no shit, they're there, right? And I can't even imagine what the dynamics and how important it must be. Like, I wonder if at their level, if being a rider is only 50% of that equation, and the other 50 is the relationship with your crew chief, with the crew. How well can a rider articulate what the bike is doing, what it's not doing, feedback,
right?
And at a granular level, think of like us, right? Us mere mortals, and we ride, and maybe I ride your bike, and I can't articulate why I don't like it. I can't clearly tell you like, oh, the front end's chattering or it's pushing or it's doing this,
Right.
and then maybe you can ride mine. You'd be like, no, I want more preload. I want more this. I want to do this. So like, I want to change this. So I just I don't know. Like some of that's that factor is really interesting to me. But I really do think that at a certain point they're kind of at the limit of what that machinery can do.
What do you think of all the spaceship stuff and how like they're getting rid of that stuff? A lot of it.
I'm indifferent to the arrows. Clearly it's the trend. I think it looks terrible. I believe probably all the bikes at the GP grid probably in the 05-ish era plus or minus 5 years, like they look gorgeous, right? Kawasaki before they pulled out, they just had a good looking fucking GP bikes, right? They just
dude.
They just look
absolutely
good,
absolutely.
But I get it, that is prototype racing. They're there to find an absolute limit. So I'm really
digging World Superbike, honestly. That's my jam right there.
Yeah.
But even then, even at World Superbike, dude, you got bikes with wings on them. Like it's
and I got the 2025 R1 that's going to have
everybody's going to have wings.
Yeah, everybody's going to have wings. I'm surprised I didn't see more of the caliper air ducts or whatever they call them. You know what I mean? The trends taken off and whatever that little dildo swing arm thing that bolts to the swing arm that's supposed to prevent high sides, right? That, the little oscillator thing.
That's
supposed to bolt. And that was supposed to fix things, but clearly that didn't go anywhere either. But
there's always like the magic. Do you remember a couple years ago the caliper coolers?
Yeah, that's fine. That's what I meant. The caliper
coolers,
the little scoops, right?
Yeah. And there's I can't remember was that the anti-squat device? What the fuck was that thing called?
I don't.
It looked like a hammer bolted to your swing arms.
Yeah, they had all sorts of things. But I know that's going to trickle down, and at our level, as I say, our level at the club level, right? Maybe MotoAmerica.
Yeah.
I realize that I'm becoming the old grumpy man that old man yells at the cloud. But like I'm not a fan of electronics.
Really?
I really think they're neutering people's ability to ride, to really ride. And I'm sure, my dad's generation would say the same thing because, I grew up, everything mostly, for the most part, was fuel injection.
Right.
But the electronics on the big bikes, man. I mean, I don't know.
I think there's two sides of that too. Like I think the electronics allow them to take shit further. Number one. And then number two, it also like helps keep things a little safer. Like
I get, for sure. Yeah, I'm not
a lot safer.
I can't refute that.
Have you tried to ride a big bike, a current one, when the electronics aren't working and the nanny shit's off? It's like fucking impossible to ride.
Yeah, I haven't had. And it's old, right? But I've gotten seat and time on 05, Gixxer 1000 ZX10, which I realize that those don't have the power of the new ones, right?
They're like 40 horsepower less than the new ones.
Yeah.
And John Ridey's like, oh yeah, he's an old guy, by the way. Sorry, John. He's like, bring back the 2-strokes, the 500s,
Okay, so here's
bring back flat slides and
but if you put those guys on 600, that's what I would want to see, right? Because I know the fast guys on big bikes are fast on anything. So to me, that speaks more volumes. Like I'm speaking probably to the large demographic of Trackday riders that do I would say mid-pack advanced group times, on a big bike, and the electronics are saving them. I know I've been coaching with N2 for literally a decade now. And then followed a lot of guys that I'm behind them, and I'm like, guys, your electronics are the only thing saving you. Your body position's horrible. You're 4 feet off the fucking apex. You can't run a consistent line to save your life. And the only reason you're not crashing your brains out is that motorcycle. Like, you know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I'm like, they're not really learning it.
Right.
So, and I'm nobody special. I mean, I've never done a MotoAmerica round. It'd be fun to do it. I'm at the point now where in the Super Sport class, I would go and not feel worried about making the grid. I know that I would go, and it's pretty much any track that I've been to. I was like, it'd be a check in the box, right? Like, okay, made qualifying, go. And that probably this year's grid's stacked, like so I'm probably realistically like 15th to 18th place finisher, but I would hope my best hope would be not to get lapped. So that's my, I would say my own self-assessed pace.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I take it as a mark of achievement to be able to do that. Even though it is a 600, but they're without electronics and we're having to rely on that stuff, right? Like I can go, and I've worked with my suspension guy with Metric Devil Moto and stuff. And I remember last year I was at Summit Point and I told him, hey man, I'm losing a quarter second going into turn one. And what can we do? And he added some fork oil, we changed some things, and the next race I cut 0.3 off, and I was like, well, there you go, right? So I told him, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, so there we are.
Just a heads up, Ricky Bobby has been kind of jumping in and out.
Yeah,
he's doing that whole Taco Bell internet thing. So
yeah, I know. Fonger gave me his internet.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just not in a van.
Simcoe or Jules, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, Fonger was in his van last time when he had his Taco Bell
was
internet.
in his van.
I may have to go over there.
I did one with Fonger where he like walked across the Canadian border, dude. Like, so yeah, I get it, dude. John, did you watch any of the races this past weekend, or just MotoGP, or?
I watched GP and I watched the highlights, from the MotoAmerica stuff. So Gillum had an amazing save that last lap. That was, I've gotten not a lot of laps around Thunderbolt, but enough to know. And I can only imagine, dude, that was fucking awesome, right? Just straight up, like what he did. I know I can't even imagine what he went through, but I'm sure he definitely has skid marks in his leather. So there's no way. There's no way he didn't. But dude, he had to, right? That thing was wild. Right. But the races were cool. It was great. It's great to see Blake Davis, get a win. And kind of going back to like watching a race while you're trying to watch it while you're there. I was there for the red flag, and I'm like, why'd they red flag it? I'm standing on top of the tower and start finish, and I have no reason. I didn't know, like I couldn't see the bike was on the track,
Yeah.
And then of course around I was talking with somebody, and I missed him seeing across on the finish line,
Did you catch any of that stock thousand stuff? Because holy shit, dude! Like Jason Uribe just absolutely threw down.
Yeah,
he was in the way back because he had a shit qualifying.
Yeah.
He goes out and just throws down, runs everybody down.
Yeah,
catches and passes Hayden. And has the lead on the last lap until the last corner when Hayden made this like ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, like I had to rewind it and play it again. Like,
have you? I saw. Yeah, have you? I'm just being honest. Have you ridden Thunderbolt?
I've ridden.
Okay, yeah. But that last corner to do an inside pass there takes like
dude.
huge balls. That is
dude, to go fast in that corner takes huge balls, dude.
That is a super sketch place to do that.
Yes.
And totally
work boots
wild.
Had his work boots on, sewed up, dude. Like,
yeah,
damn.
that was very impressive. And again, obviously, his riding talent speaks for itself. But to see him do that, and it's kind of cool watching MotoAmerica and be able to watch these guys at tracks that you personally have turned laps at, so what that's like. It's different,
Right.
I could watch Coda, but I don't know about Coda. Like I've never turned a lap there. But to be able to watch that, I'm like, dude, that's fucking ballsy, man. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that was a great move. And then also, dude, both races, Ben Smith was like right there. I mean, I watched Ben Smith throw down some passes, and I was like, God damn, kid, like let's do this.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, he wasn't able to make it much more than he was. Position wise, but he definitely was right there, man. And it was aggressive, and it was exciting to watch. Like that stock 1000 race at Jersey was just a knife fight, dude.
Yeah,
like,
watching that, and I was like, man, that's some good competition. That was good. That was a good weekend. And it sucks. I don't think MotoAmerica has ever had good luck with weather there. It always seems, I can't remember the last time they've had like a clear weekend. You know, they had shitty weather for qualifying,
Right.
stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean, it
yeah,
used to
cool.
be like if you wanted rain and you're having a drought, you just schedule a MotoAmerica round, right? Like that's the way it used to be.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see when we get Ricky Bobby. He keeps on attempting to get in the studio and then he's like out. So we're just gonna keep going until
Let's roll with it.
like whatever, man. Like
Roll with it.
yeah, show must go on, Ricky Bobby. Come on, man.
I know.
Yeah. So
Air
the
Force
other
guys are
thing is,
slacking.
I mean, obviously, you know, Matt Skultz and PJ's stuff
Yep.
that happened all year, and it kind of went down to the wire till one race ago anyway, but till the last weekend. And I mean, the determination of both those guys. I mean, they were just like sawing each other's face off like all season.
Yep.
And you know, to have Skulty come out on top, but then not the next day, right? So, like, didn't PJ just did the thing?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
pulled the pin a bit.
Curious to see. I saw. I haven't spun myself up with the tech rakes for 25, so I'm curious to see what the Super Sports rules are going to be, and the drama with the R9. You know, they had a little sneak peek, and you know,
October 9th.
I'm just pessimistic, and I'm like, hey, everybody got all riled up. Yamaha hasn't done anything since 2015. You know, they said the same thing with the R6 when it came, you know, for 17, and it was a new front end, the R1 front end, you know, with traction control and ABS. But it's not like, I guess in racer terms, you know, it's not like the new R6 is obliterating 600 lap records. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay, they put some money into it, but like nothing changed. You know, if I was going to play the lottery, I'd say the R9 is just going to be the MT-09 with clip-ons and race.
Everybody says that, but I've heard otherwise.
We'll see. I would love to be proven wrong, if nothing else, because I'm trying to think selfishly for myself. You know, how much longer the R6 platform is going to be dominant. You know, granted, there's a million of them out there, but eventually, you know, spares are going to eventually dry up. And then, like, okay, if I had to buy a bike, what am I going to buy next? And you know, I wasn't impressed with like the Ninja 400 because it has like this, the subframe is one piece with the frame, right? And I'm like, that's kind of garbage. The principle of paying 10 grand for a 400 just gives me heartburn like you wouldn't believe. I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely not. So that's why I personally always love the 600s because it's a nice balance between, you know, finance cost and fun and speed with
and insurance.
And sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's one thing a lot of people say that, you know, the 600s are cheaper to insure than the big bikes. And now it's like they're just getting the big bikes anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been years. I've never had a street legal bike anyways, so insurance hasn't been the thing they've been worrying about. But yeah, that is a consideration for a lot, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And as long as well with that is you know, and I talk to my friends that don't race and they have no concept of the track days and the scene and all that. So of course, as you guys probably know, the number one question, right, is how fast do you go? And I'm like, okay, nobody cares about that. Like none of us, we don't care about the top speed, but you know, I care about what bike can I afford to crash, which is vastly different than the one I can afford, right? So like I can, like an R1 is like, cool, that's cool, right?
Yeah, then you stack one, you're like, oh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like I totaled back in June, I crashed a Thunderbolt. I didn't break anything, but I had a pretty good concussion in turn 6, and I don't remember, you know, half the day. The bike was, I wouldn't consider it totaled, but man, she took a beating. It flipped over, then the foot peg caught turn 6 is a right-hander, so it flipped over on the other side, but it landed on the tank. So it kind of like at a 45-degree angle upside down. So it smashed down into it.
That's always good.
Yeah, it broke the airbox. You know, of course, obliterated the gas tank, and then it broke the upper and the lower of the airbox, knocked the valve stacks loose, right? So I had to get a whole new everything. But anyways, all that
did it break the stacks too?
It did not. Thankfully,
lucky.
There's little clips that they on the variable velocity they popped out, the inserts popped out, and I learned about all this from Kyle Alexander, Northeast Cycle Outlet. I bought all my replacement parts from him, right? So hey man, I need new stuff from him. Anyways, long story but the replacement parts is still, that was thousands of dollars for an '08 R6. You know, if that was an R1 equivalent crash, I'd be like, oh my god, that's like $6,000. The stuff that
That's
I
crazy.
crashed, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm like, no, I was like,
Dude,
I'll
you're
stick
talking to
with
the guy that
600.
totaled, like, rode off a couple of R1s. Okay,
Dude, I can't. No, man, I don't roll like that.
I don't either, dude. I don't either.
I ball on a budget. That is my mantra, right? I ball on a budget. You know, and of course I had to buy new bodywork the whole night.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there I am. I'm getting
Yeah.
high off the paint fumes in my backyard, and I'm spray painting everything using 2K clear. Like,
I always just
dude,
like scumbag a local painter to do it. Like,
I used to have a painter. What's this? Oh, Mako. I was like, what's the shitty car manufacturer?
Yeah.
Mako, right? And
yeah,
they did,
Mako paint job.
dude. They came
Earl
through
Shive.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You're gonna get some runs and a little bit of orange peel. It's no different than me spray painting it. But they used to do it for like $300, and then they changed ownership, and I'm like, ah, hell. So, anyways, I spray bomb all my own stuff, and of course, you know, you're never happy with your own work. But like one low side later, then you don't care, right? You're like, yeah, whatever. But
I always
again,
cared. I always cared. I'm a needy bitch, dude. Like, I need my shit to look good, dude.
I'm
can't
with
roll
you.
with my shit jacked up, dude.
Dude, I'm with you. I've given crap to more people. Like when I go to a track for race weekend, you know, I have to when my bike comes out of the trailer, it's got to be track ready, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy that's, you know, using WD-40 on a rag and making sure the wheels are clean, the chains got to be spotless, but it's got wear and tear, right? It's a race bike. It's got scratches 100%. Here. The front of the forks have the little rock chips, right? There's there's signs of use, you know. But yeah, to your point, I agree 100,000% that it's gotta be presentable.
Dude, I gotta throw the glitter on it, full lowrider status, like the Broham action, like, dude.
I tried some metallic, but then, you know, coming from a spray can, it's like sometimes it's concentrated in one spot and it's not enough here.
That's why you find a lowrider, dude, and just make it happen.
Or just a gloss black with white decals. That's my new jam.
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of guys are doing. I mean, I did that. I did the matte black paint scheme on a bike one time.
It's hard, yeah. Then you can't polish it.
And it just looks so shit, you know.
It looks good. It's weird,
nah,
right? I think it does. I think they look really, really good.
This is before they started looking cool, man. This is like still in the 90s, fair. Bro. Like, I can't do it, dude. Can't do it.
Fair, yeah.
But like I said, like maybe I'm just like needy bitch, you know. But I just, you know, I like my shit to look a certain way, and then, you know, whatever. So. The only matte black bike I'm riding right now is the one behind me. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
The Madone. But yeah. And no, John Righty, nobody cares that your green is your preferred color. You know, there's a 12-step program for that, I'm sure. You get solve that.
Yeah. I think is he still on Kawasaki's? I know he's
John Righty, he's like the crew guy, like the main guy or whatever for Brendan Kettleson's efforts.
Okay.
Brendan, actually, you know what? Brendan won the AFM #1 plate this past weekend. So instead of being at the national, he was doing the club guy thing and winning a regional club championship.
Yeah.
Or, you know, #1.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty impressive deal. AFM, I don't know if you know, AFM is actually known as like a competitive club. So. Yeah. Bobby, any thoughts? How's the Taco Bell internet, buddy? Yeah. You still there?
He's looking kind of potato quality, at least on my computer.
I mean, I'm getting a little patchwork with him. His goatee is like nicely groomed, like not quite Macchiaggi level.
He's like 480. He's like my dial-up internet with the AOL CDs, right? And you're trying to download like the titty pictures, and it's like coming, and you're like, come on, man, it's almost there. And then it pauses, and you're like, the vibe is lost.
He's definitely Ricky Bobby's definitely gonna have to add like 15 more AOL minutes.
Quick, load the other CD. Yeah,
man.
Gotta put in the codes.
You know, and the poor guy, like Ricky Bobby's been around, and you know he's going through some stuff. You know, he's on that side of the country.
He's on the right side of the country.
The right side of the country where it's like underwater, a lot of it, and all that.
Wow.
And so,
you know,
see, there he goes. There he goes. Yeah. So,
he's a quitter.
so like the lap time thing between World Superbike and GP is pretty alarming to me, because to have production based bikes be within a second and a half of full prototyping stuff, that just shows you how, number one, how good the superbikes have become. But it's like, okay, like where's the superbikes aren't anywhere near the budgets that those GP bikes are.
For sure. Yeah. I had a talk with one of the guys I work with. He does Trackdays, and he's just a Trackday only intermediate guy. But on the same topic, he's got a stock. I think it's a 28. He's got a new gen R6, and I got my 08. And we were talking about, I tried the the Metzler, the Trackday slicks, and it's his first time, so he's making that transition to slicks, the Trackday slicks. I'm like, all right, that's a Pirelli SE3, right? That's basically all they are. And but he's like, yeah, he's like, I really couldn't notice much of a difference, and I'm like, well, you got to work up towards that. And we were talking about feel and feedback, and and he's a lot different than I am. Like I said, these last couple of years, I try to be competitive in the 600 class. I try to shoot for the podium. Everyone, at every round, and but I feel I finally hit that point where I can feel a difference in certain stuff. But I remember I rode his bike once, and I'm like, man, it's like he's got DOTs on the stock front end, and like the bike feels good, and for reference, again, it's an East Coast track, but some point for 600, I think the lap record used to be held by Garrett Gerloff for years, right? It was like a 1:12.5, and I think maybe Xavier Zayat's got like a low 12, right? So, and I don't know how AFM, which West guys think, but in my mind, I was like, if you can get within 5 seconds of the lap record, for the class machinery, like you can ride, right? Like, which side the gas is on. And so, my best there is a low 15. And so anyways, I was riding his bike, and I was only doing 20s and 19s with it, so I wasn't pushing it. 4 seconds, that's a big gap. But the front end felt good. I'm going through it, I'm like, dude, I'm not feeling the front end push, and like I'm not really feeling the cartridge. Like I can't, like I couldn't tell you. At that
you're like, shit, man, it's like not doing anything bad yet.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, well, fuck me, this is pretty good. This year I did try. I went to the K-Tech, the spring pressurized forks over the regular other ones, and I did notice a big difference.
Did you?
I did. I wouldn't say big as in like, hey, I can go faster on it, but the way they feel is 1,000% different than the normal. I think RDS versus the DDS.
The DDS is the pressurized stuff, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I went to the DDS this year. Definitely felt a difference in that for sure. But no, nothing that was like, groundbreaking. And so anyways, back to your point, the stock bikes are damn good, and it makes you wonder at what point, what is need, and so, but
there's like need, and there's want, and then there's which looks cooler.
Sure. Well, you get the look cooler factor,
I
right?
mean,
but you also have the, how does one, and it's gonna sound stupid, but I'm being serious, but how do you define a need, right? Because if you're a faster rider than I am, and maybe you can extract more out of a bone stock R1 than I can. However, I could go faster if I had better suspension. So is that a need or is that a want? You know what I mean? Because like, sure, then maybe Marquez could get on a bike and go faster than you can. So does that mean that you still need the shock or not? Right. But if it's something that can make the rider more comfortable with the machine, is that a need or is that still a want?
Have you worked with data at all?
No, I need to, man. I'm a one-man band. I'm the bank. I'm the financier. I'm the head mechanic. I'm the fucking transporter. I'm the rider. I'm the logistician. I do everything, right? And at a certain point, you get tired. I have a point where I like my bike and certain gearing for certain tracks. Not quite there where I'm changing springs from track to track. I think that's probably honestly, that's my next step. I have rebound, compression, preload settings that I like, for each track. And I have my general like default, like if I'm making turns and I fuck something up, like, okay, reset the center and go to there.
Dude, for me, the data really, like, I don't know if you like, it was really mostly the tightening up the wuss gap.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to articulate is who's going to look at that and win. right? And I know the answer. It's a rhetorical question. It's me. And then when am I gonna?
Right.
And then in the evenings, I usually bring my dog with me, and I'm like, dude, and I gotta cook, right? I'm cooking dinner. I
Yeah.
start drinking
Yeah.
beer and hanging with the homies, and dude, I ain't got
Right.
time for that, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I
Dude,
was
we
making
were looking at data between sessions, bro. Like you just hit the
yeah,
USB, boom, done. Take a look. Oh, hey, look.
it's
But it's
I've been
hard. It's hard.
I've been struggling this last couple years of balancing track days and racing. And like I said, as I said before, I've been coaching for a number of years. And you ask somebody, what's the fastest way to lose all your progression is to start coaching. And if you just do club racing or whatever racing that you do, it's easy to keep that knife sharp. It's easy to keep those skills sharp.
Yeah.
And when you do more race weekends, one, you're not dealing with track day traffic, so you're not dealing with these fucking idiots on these electronics fucking
Except
1000s
except if
parking
they're a
it in corners.
lapper.
Well, that's an anomaly, but like still you go to a race weekend and like your expected gaps and it's just a lot easier. And so when you get in a mindset, people are asking like, man, what'd you do differently? You've been training. I'm like, dude, I just kind of stopped coaching. I do one-on-one stuff, I do advanced group coaching, but as far as like that novice and intermediate group grind, I haven't done a multitude of days, but if I look at my profile, I probably got 80 or 80 70 or 80 coaching days. I'm like, okay, I've done a fair amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice, to your point, right, to be able to and that's what honestly has made this little steps of progression easier for me. Is while I don't have a data equipped bike, I do it from sprint to sprint. It's a lot easier to track. Okay, this rear has this many laps on it. My front, okay, I got this. I'm going to add some compression because I don't like the way it's doing this, this, and this. And I'm taking little notes. I keep it all in the notes on my phone, and then I just kind of go from there. So it's not to that point, but
you wish you had the time to get it to there.
I wish I had the time or somebody to pay to help me. And that's why I kind of noticed watching MotoAmerica too, and it makes me wonder.
You mentioned Gerloff a minute ago, and Gerloff had a great weekend last past weekend, right? Like the dude, all three, all three, both races in the sprint, like the dude was there, right? Or Super Bowl or whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
No,
like
the dude was there, right? He was murdering.
Sure.
So, like, is that? Do you
so that's
think
that's I'm sorry. But
do you think that's a sign of things to come for him? Do you think he's just kind of taken this long to get going? Because he started to get going like a couple of rounds ago, right? So
yeah. So that kind of brings up the point we alluded to earlier about the relationship between a rider and the team. It kind of makes you wonder. I do believe, years back when he first started, remember he was kind of a bowling ball. Took a few guys out, and I think he did lose some of his aggression. And of course, we're all saying it's armchair quarterbacking,
right.
But it's kind of, I think the evidence is kind of there, right? Like he was, I think he maybe like, oh shit, like he's still kind of new to that scene. He's got to ride courteous. He's got to do to some degree, but I'd agree. I think it's on 2 points. I think he's getting better at riding, and I think he's getting his mojo back, right? If that's what you're kind of, I think he's getting his mojo back, but maybe I still wonder how much improvement wise can be tied to team and bike setup still. And then you can see that at any level. What about the MotoAmerica level, right? What about sometimes, maybe sometimes the team just doesn't get it right. They don't have the time, and sometimes
I see it.
like
I see it. I mean, you look at some of the teams, and there's guys that just this past weekend started to come back strong, and their bikes for years have been like nowheresville, right?
Yeah.
And you know what, dude? Like, how about Laura Baz throwing down a win this past weekend?
Yeah.
That dude, I thought for sure, because as strong as he was as a competitor the last time he was here, I thought for sure he'd be having more than the last win of the season.
So I'm with you, right? Because he's obviously got a name for himself, and I kind of thought the same thing with Petrucci as well when he was still here.
Yeah.
And so good for him on getting a win too, right? Talk about feathers in his caps, right? That guy's done everything,
right?
Car, MotoGP,
yeah,
right?
Where Iannone this past weekend,
yeah, right,
right.
And like, so it makes me wonder, as he came over here and like I I'll be honest. I kind of thought he was going to do a lot better and kind of wipe the floor with Gagne and attack Yamaha when they were still kind of reigning supreme. But it makes you kind of bring into question again. Was it the limitations of the bike? So what kind of changed? And did Baz get better? I've ridden Thunderbolt since the repave because I was there earlier this year. And so it is a faster track, but they weren't setting the world on fire there. So I don't know if it's a green track due to all the rain, washing the rubber off. And so maybe that was is that Baz's experience coming into being able to feel that the limit and how much he can push that bike. Is he willing to take more risk, or who the hell knows?
Yeah, I mean it's this season's been all sorts of that, right? You saw the attack guys. Obviously Jake wasn't healthy all year and punched out the last couple of rounds, which sucked. Sure. And then Campy really wasn't healthy all year, and he kind of came back on strong later as the year progressed. But realistically, he was kind of inconsistent, right? Like he'd win one and crash one, kind of thing. So. And even this past weekend, Xavi Flores filling in, he and Xavi both started both races super strong, and then kind of, whatever, right? So I'm sure Richard will fill me in on all that tomorrow's show. But you see, it's like you get a bike that's won the championship for 4 years straight, basically a team.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly those guys know what the fuck they're doing, right?
Right.
And for whatever reason, that's racing. Sometimes you get the races where you win, where the guy that gets the one plate literally mops the floor with everyone all year except for a couple races. Or like the year with Petrucci where it was like a knife fight till the end kind of thing.
Yep.
Maybe a round or two early, and then or this year where we get kicked in the face. Like that's just racing, right? That's just how it goes. Ricky Bobby's saying the lap times are because of the Dunlops.
There's still the lap.
The lap time. Well, they're all running Dunlops, dude. Like the lap times are less from the Dunlops from last year.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's Dunlops is next to them. I don't care. I've been on Pirellis. Like I noticed I have been on Pirellis for years. That's my personal choice, but I'm paying for them. But that's my preference. But a spec tire series is a spec tire series. That argument kind of goes out the window because we're not comparing. It's not like World Superbikes at Thunderbolt, right? We're not comparing. We're just comparing MotoAmerica to MotoAmerica, so it's the same.
Right. Yeah, they. I've noticed this a lot. We've looked at some of the data, and it's the last couple of years, the tire the tires changed maybe a couple of years ago, I think, and
they went to the R numbers, right?
And then ever since then, I think there's been a couple of lap records here and there, but overall, it seems like the other tires were quicker. May not have lasted as long, but they
maybe, I've been in the endurance scene for a number of years as well, and it's interesting. And I initially heard, and I talked to at the club level what I would consider like some top level riders, and I tend to agree. I think the Pirellis are probably faster out of the gate, and I would say I'd probably say 10 laps. But Dunlops probably hold up a little longer over a longer period. I think I maybe perhaps.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm speaking strictly from a 600 experiences here. And it was really reassuring to talk with a few other guys who've been on Pirellis for years. For racing, I'm a fan of, I don't know what the West Coast tracks are like. I've never ridden anything on the East Coast. West of the Mississippi, so I don't know. Except for this year, I rode Mugello, so I got to get that under my belt.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah, thanks. So SC2 front, I usually run a 0 rear, but on a 600, I've dabbled with the X, and I couldn't notice anything, any significant improvement other than they're a lot more particular, and the track's got to be super hot, super sunny. I don't think I still quite have the pressure is dialed in yet, and I'm not sure. I'm not as a whole. Seeing the fast guys, I'm not sure. I haven't seen many of my competition run the X's on the 600, so I'm not quite sure a 600 makes enough power to take advantage
I
of
like
the
the
extra
X
grip.
tire. The X tire is
But
like
if you're on an
cheating.
R1, that's a different story. I'm talking 600 to 600, right? If you're
I
talking a
honestly,
big bike,
dude,
then
like,
maybe.
can I even call myself a racer anymore, dude? I haven't graded up for a single race in 2024.
That's still a racer. I mean, depends. I mean, it
I'm
is
still a
funny.
racer. I feel like I've been racing for 25 years, dude. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm just go racing whenever I feel like it.
you
Right
know,
now, I'm just like riding bicycles.
I did my last deployment in fall of 21 into 22, so I spent 8 months off the bike, and I did a whole lot of preparation to have my bike ready because I knew year to year that the tracks, the schedules are more or less the same, from year to year, and so I had my bikes and everything set up at home. So I did not turn a wheel for over 8 months, and I came back, and by the second session, I was 2/10 off my personal best right after not sitting on it. I'm like, so I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, you might not have sat on it, but like I'm a firm believer that once riders have reached a certain point, I don't think you really lose it, so to speak.
Yeah, I like to think that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're gonna have to go back to fucking novice group or something. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, put yellow plates on. I was like, no, it's not. Like you're still going to be racing against you, right? But it's not something like that. That atrophy isn't there. I think the atrophy would be if you had a serious like injury and you had surgery or something like that. Then
yeah, I've had a few of those.
me as well. Yeah.
So how about going back to the racing? Like, who do you think, because the season's winding down, kind of, right?
Yep.
So who do you think is gonna get the title in MotoGP, dude? Is it gonna be Martin? He's got the advantage right now.
I don't know, because they both have a history of flubbing up. I don't want to say under pressure, because none of us know what it's like to be riding, have a career based around riding. You have multi-million-dollar. I surely have no idea what that's like. If I had to throw a dart, who's going to ask? I think Bagnaia is going to get it.
You think Bagnaia is going to get it?
I do.
Because they've been kind of going back and forth with the lead, and it's like 20 something right now, right?
It's close, or 12. I thought it was closer than 20. Maybe I have to check. I don't know. But we'll see. I think it's going to be good. I was really upset. It was hilarious. When I was watching the race, and I didn't say it out loud, but I wound up jinxing him anyways. I'll take credit for the beast crashing, because he's always got that late race pace, so he always gets faster and faster. And I was thinking, I've never seen this motherfucker flub up and throw it away when he's making it. And then as soon as I thought, like, a lap later, he tucks it, and I go, oh, well, there he goes, right? So I had to eat my words.
He's got a 21-point lead right now.
Okay, 20. That's a lot, but that's the way I think Martin's thrown more away, with a significant lead, and that's one DNF, right? So that's 21 points. So Martin throws it away. Bagnaia can still get second, right?
Right.
Or even if he finishes third, that kind of brings it right up there.
Like, how many rounds do we have left?
I thought there was only five or six.
Yeah, let's see. We've got, for the year. Yeah, so we've got this Japanese GP October 5th weekend, right? So this coming weekend is Japanese GP.
They had 3 weekends back to back. That's
so then we have the Australian GP, Thailand, Malaysia, and then Valencia.
Nice.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of rooting for Jorge Martin, dude. Like, but the reality is, like, he's got the lead right now.
I have no, honestly, like, I'm just watching it for pure entertainment.
How about Marquez? How many wins is Marquez going to get in that same time period?
Sprint race again. We talk a lot of shit on Trackday Junkies Unleashed.
Well, yeah, dude.
So the one thing I'm going to put the huge secret, the huge spoiler out here, right? And I'm gonna
huge spoiler. We're throwing
Huge.
down. You're
We
rolling
are.
up the sleeves,
This
throwing down the
is
gauntlet.
this is
Trackday
this is
Junkies Unleashed style.
I'm
Boom.
spilling. No, not even that. No, I'm spilling my secret. I'm spilling my classified.
Okay.
I'm spilling my classified information here. Right? Is that again? It goes back to other stuff. Right? The page has done a lot for me as a club rider and exposure and getting publicity out there. Right? I don't care about Marquez. This is a secret, right? Like Marquez, I have nothing against him, right?
Right.
I
don't even know that guy, dude.
I don't, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is like it's antagonizing the fans, right? And I love getting them riled up. And so it's so easy, right? It's like this easy button. It's just so easy to get them fired up over it. I truly do believe that Rossi is the greatest of all time for a multitude of factors. Most of it, but it doesn't even go to his riding, right? So I look at this guy, and he had this foresight to come up with the training academy. And you think about the business perspective and what he's done for his legacy and what he's done. It's like he's like the Michael Jordan,
the
right, of
impact
MotoGP,
that
right?
he's had on the sport in general.
Correct.
Dude, people you go to a GP,
insignificant of the stats.
How much
right?
yellow do you still see
It's
in the
wild.
crowds? The guy
And
fucking
he hasn't
doesn't
been there
even
for
race
years.
anymore.
Yeah, it's wild. And so getting that, it's funny to see that riled up. But I also truly believe that Marquez, he's a top 6 rider, right? I think he's going to have more success in 2025 beyond on a factory Ducati for sure. But if you have the nutsack riders, that are on a page for Marquez, they got every excuse in the book, right? It's like, oh, it's this, oh, he's not fully recovered. And so a lot of that stuff is like poking the bear, and I joke about it, but it's also serious, right? Because it's kind of like, hey, you said he wasn't fully recovered. Oh, now he needs, like, what excuses are they going to pull out of the quiver next, And I guarantee you some of them is going to be like, oh, he's not used to the 24 yet, or the bike was designed for Bagnaia, and now they're going to have some bullshit excuse, right? They're going to come up with something.
Like they do.
But I think he's going to be, here's my prediction for 25. Marquez is going to be a lot closer in the championship. But dude, he's a top 5 or 6 rider. Somebody that really impressed the shit out of me, and I'm glad to have the follow up, was Acosta. Right? I think Pedro is awesome. Watching him ride, and to the credit of Marquez,
and he's learning.
Yes, to the credit of Marquez fans, you can't refute looking at the top 8, and it's like Ducati, right? So at a certain point, they're kind of like, well, he's got a point. And Acosta was the first non-Ducati, and the next KTM, was Bender down in like 9th or 10th, right? And I'm like, dude, this kid is fucking crushing it, right? So he is the next Marquez, and I feel that their trajectories, if you would overlay them, by the time Pedro gets comfortable or KTM does some significant advancement that's on the bike, that chassis will be more competitive. Going back to our conversation earlier, how I think those riders can reach their limitations, and Pedro is going to wind up fucking up Marquez's ability to get in that title chase. I really do. And he's doing that on a clearly inferior machine, because people want to, the Marquez fans are like, oh, the Honda can't do anything. Look at when's the last time a KTM has done anything in GP?
Ever.
Ever, right? So, that's kind of like using the same question to them, right, with KTM. Right. So I think he's kind of the one to watch. But when it comes down to it, dude, in 2020, I became a Brad Binder fan with that flag to flag race, and that was just amazing, right?
Right.
And I know he's never going to win the championship. I know he's never going to be, a title contender. But what he did, and the way he rides and everything, like, he's just like a solid rider, and I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I like Alace Espargo, dude. Like the angry, emotional Spaniard that is like, he's like yelling, has the hand gestures, and he's like "puta madre,"
So I'm
like,
really curious with
Aprilia. Miss that guy.
Yeah, I'm curious with Aprilia for next year, because Aprilia is that one brand that comes to mind when you look at the results, and they're always, for the most part, pretty damn close. So I'm inclined to believe,
last couple of years anyway. I mean, they've had some wins, but they're. And I mean, Alace, you got 3rd in the championship that one year.
So I think it's close as like when the 2 factory riders, they are close wherever they're at within the standings. So I think Aprilia is suffering with track setup from track to track, and I think that's going to hinder Martin a lot, because we see Maverick and Aleix, like these both kind of seem to be within 2 or 3 spots, either whether it's qualifying, the race, or the sprint, or whatever the case may be. I think they're pretty close. So I wonder if Martin can get the Aprilia to be as routinely competitive as the Ducati. You know what I mean? Where they certainly have their tracks where they're like, oh yeah, the Aprilia is going to like kick ass here.
What do you think of the impact will be having a Yamaha satellite team now instead of just the 2 guys on the factory team?
God knows they need the help in the development. So I know they got the they got the new engine design. I think Fabio is probably. I know he's riding the absolute wheels off that thing.
Right.
And you see him, and
like the guy is a former world champ. He obviously didn't forget how to ride a motorbike.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think probably the smartest riders on the grid would be Luca Marini. It's probably Luca Marini because he's collecting the biggest paycheck,
right?
And Honda can't really expect anything out of him, right? So they're giving feedback. So like if you're looking at the guy who's like winning MotoGP, right? It's Marini because how can you get paid the most amount of money to go ride a motorcycle? And like, by the way, nobody expects you to do anything with it because everybody knows, right? It's the unspoken truth, right? Everybody knows it's not good. So
wow. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit more about World Superbike.
Okay.
And obviously Top Rack did what he did last weekend, and that was epic. Especially considering he had to miss that one round because he crashed out of it, and then the next round because he was declared medically unfit.
Right.
To come out and be in the front all weekend, that was amazing. But another guy who's been kind of on the verge of shit all year. Everybody's been talking about how he should just give up and retire. Bautista was back in the front. Does that mean he's back? And then the other thing was Iannone throwing down, getting a win there. So you want to talk about your thoughts on Bautista? Is he back? Or is it just because he really likes Aragon?
I don't know. So that hold on, I have a couple thoughts. First off,
okay.
So Ricky Bobby, when he just literally asked me last night about this.
Okay.
And I'm like, of course, cool, I'll jump on. I also have a deep dark confession. I've never watched any of these before. I was just I'll do it. So I don't know what you guys talk about. I have no idea. So I'm just cool. I'll just do it.
We talk exactly like this.
All right. So I'll fire from the hip, right? So I didn't really know what to expect. And so I guess I always kind of go back to relating, at the end of the day, these guys put their race suits on same way that we do, right? They put their pants on the same way. And so I wonder at certain weekends where I'm sure, you've been doing this for decades, where you have a really good weekend, things are clicking, maybe you slept well, you ate good, and you're feeling good.
Yeah.
Your crew's there helping you out, and maybe you just have a good weekend, or maybe you like that particular track. And so watching, these, I would call them anomalies, with Bautista having a coming back and doing that. I'm like, well, it makes you wonder, right? Because at the end of the day, sure, they're wicked fast dudes, but they're just dudes.
Wicked fast.
Wicked fast, yeah. Right.
Okay.
So but they're no different. They're just dudes.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. Years ago when I did my first track day in 2012, I remember getting frustrated in novice group on my 600 because thousands were the big fucking leader bikes parking in the corners and all that stuff.
Straightaway,
right? Yeah. And I remember the coach, I'll call him out, John Dunham. He's an amazing mentor. He's helped me out. He bumped me to advanced group, years ago and everything. He's like, he's got to learn how to beat him on the brakes. I'm like, okay. And so I got to be a mid-pack expert, and I rode with, good friends, Tim Wilson. He was always way faster than me. I was like, hey man, where do I need to improve? He's like, I'm beating you on the brakes. And so for years, I just heard it's like beating me on the brakes, right? And then I watched Top Rack, right? So this is my point I'm getting to, is that and I wonder when you look at data on any track, but how much time can truly be made up on the brakes, right? Whether it's World Superbike, it's GP, right? As Jorge Martin, all those guys, that they're floating their rears and just truly, no bullshit. How much time can you actually make up by braking that much harder? Not only, straight up and down is one thing. They get to that 100% and they float that, but then also that trail brake and a heavy tip in all the way in. And clearly, I think I'm not a huge Top Rack fan, but I believe he came from like the stunt world or something like that from years ago, or he's got a lot of experience doing that.
I think his family was in the stunt.
Okay.
Nate Curran said something about
Okay.
it.
But that would explain his
yeah.
riding style a lot, right? And why he's very comfortable. He comes in off a hot pit and he's always doing a fucking endo and everything. But like, so I'd be curious, maybe you have insight to this. I don't, but maybe is that where he's making up all of his time? So over Gerloff, right? So you look at this stuff, I was like, dude, is he making it up all on the brakes?
I don't have the data to support that.
But
it's like he looks like he's able to steer the bike anywhere he wants to.
Yeah.
Like his roll speed is insane.
Right.
Like I don't think he's just making it up on the brakes. It looks like he's making it up everywhere. Like he'll go and roll around the outside of people.
But he's still kind of doing that, I guess.
But he does the
on the
brakes, late brake, yeah.
But and I'd be curious and looking, right, and I'd be like, okay, so him versus Gerloff, right, from like turn 1 to the apex, from the apex to the exit, right?
Yeah,
for the overlap, like, because at a certain point there has to be a terminal amount of grip that the rear tire can take, So is that just come down to how much they can load the front? Anyways, I know I'm getting off topic, but for the one-off,
do you think it's like how he's got that feel for the front tire?
I think so.
He has a feel for what the bike's doing.
Sure,
different than other people's feel,
yeah,
right.
And I wish I had that. And
me too.
Yeah, so
probably saved me some trips to the hospital. That's for sure.
I try to take that, and relate it to the mortal level that we ride at, and knowing that the World Superbike thing, the Pirellis are the spec tires, like they're the same SC2s, SC2, SC1, and SC1. And it took me a couple of years, but I finally got to the point where I'm confident that if you gave me like a blindfold test and I didn't know how many laps the front tire had on it, and you sent me out on my bike, I could be like, no, this thing's got more than 40 laps on it, right? Like I can go out there and it's like it's plowing, it's not finishing a corner, it's starting to like profile just like the rear does, I'm like, nah, this ain't it. And dude, there's nothing like a fresh front tire, right? And be able to have that confidence in the way the carcass feels, and especially rears, I feel very easy to feel in the throttle. You can definitely feel that in the back end, but more particularly the front. All of my speed that I managed to find over the last couple of years has been in the front. I'm a huge bitch on the gas, right? Big time.
I'm opposite. I learned how to utilize the Yamaha electronics and just
not me.
Pull the trigger at the apex and let the thing do its let the nanny shit take care of shit. So
that's not me. I'm smooth, honestly. Like if I had to critique myself, I'm smooth to a fault, and I'm not ham-fisting it enough, especially on the 600. But anyways, that front, that's why I'm like Top Rack. Like, dude, how does he find that feel? And I could feel the difference at max braking when I probably if 100% of the braking effort is done from straight up and down to the apex, I would say 50%. When you're trail braking deep and you're starting to let off, but you're close to the apex but not quite there. I feel that's where I feel the difference in my K-Tech front suspension. The DDS to the RDS. That's where I could feel a big difference on that edge grip. I can feel how the bike is changing and responding to that. I'm sensitive to, dude. I can notice a 2-pound difference is pretty noticeable. Right,
because you're like, shit, who sent me out on bowling balls?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so
it just a heads up, like Ricky Bobby's saying I should refer to the data from Portimao from a couple years ago. And I did get to see a tiny bit of Top Rack's data while Richard was like working with Jake trying to get him going. And I didn't actually see that particular area. I was seeing some other places like Cornerex and stuff, and like I didn't really see that particular thing, but I mean, I would say, thinking about that now that Ricky Bobby pointed it out to me, I'd say I don't think he's just making it up there, dude. He's making it up everywhere. Like,
probably, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
have you seen some of the training videos that the Safoglu and those guys do? Those Turkish dudes, like they're all like just lunatics on like a beater 400, like with no
Yeah.
bodywork on it on go-kart tracks, just
And you
elbow
see
down to elbow down, like
Yeah.
just, you know.
You see that that muscle memory, but you see that even at the MotoAmerica level, and
Yeah, like Hayden Gillum kind of.
Sure.
you
Well,
know.
and this is the thing. I'm kind of like, you have to stop me if I'm going off the rails on
No,
certain
dude,
things.
I'm digging it, man.
Yeah,
We
I feel
just cut our audience in half right now, though. We were at like
Oh.
17 something, and now we're
Oh.
like 7,500.
Okay, but I feel is it 10 o'clock bedtime for people? I don't know.
I don't know. It's like not even.
But like
it's
at the
7:10 for me.
At the MotoAmerica level, I wonder how much money has a play into it. Because I have been doing this long enough. You've been doing it. You have friends that have their one-off rounds, right? They come, yeah, they're gonna go do that, and you wonder like, hey, how much faster could Dustin be if he didn't have to worry about a fucking job, right? As some of these other kids, if he was able to ride more, if he was able to ride and go out on the beater 400,
and he wasn't old and broken.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and be able to go do all that stuff, and it's like, and not to sound like dismissive of who's on the grid in any class, but it just makes you wonder, like, are they really that much better than me, or like, are they just have more time?
Well, I mean, you're a local club guy. I mean, are there guys on the grid that you've beat in club races?
On the MotoAmerica, 1,000%. I'm not gonna call them out and like, dude. There's guys that
who you are.
Yes, and I'm like, dude, I've stomped your dick at every single club race. You have no business being on MotoAmerica, right? And like, and I get it, right? Hey, man, they can afford it. They can be there. They can do it. So good on them. They've done better than me, right? They got a better MotoAmerica finish.
I looked at it like I looked at it from a different perspective. I was like, I'm old and broken and whatever, but I'm like, you know what? That dude kind of had to go through me to get there.
Sure,
so I'm
sure.
Like, hey.
And so, like, right? Okay, so let's tie into this last weekend. And I don't like talking about myself, but in terms of relativity,
no, right? Shut up.
So Jersey this past, before I crashed. So fun fact, I broke my finger on my awning. I'm not flipping the camera off, but you can see the blood, right? So I broke my finger on my awning, my RV awning, because there's a huge windstorm that blew through during the Azure weekend. And so the arms folded in on itself as I was trying to roll back in. And so this is, I did all of my club races with a broken finger, right? So my right hand. So I get this way, right?
Yeah.
So I used 2-finger braking, and I did all of it with a broken finger. And this was purple, the last digit. And so I went out and with the new pavement, the Jersey, and I was doing, I think, low 26s. And I'll be honest, when I was doing it, I really wasn't pushing. Like at no point in time did I feel that I was going to die. Like the front, the accent was kind of dancing around going into turn 1 a little bit, but it was very manageable, very, whatever. Like I didn't really care, but I really wasn't pushing it, and I felt good. And before I crashed, if I didn't have literally broken thumb, I'm sorry, finger, I was like, dude, I got mid 25s in me. Easy, right? And I was like, it's there. I just need I needed to change the tooth on my gearing, make some couple of clicks of changes and compression that I wanted to experiment with in the front end and back end. Yeah, I wanted to do that, but I wound up crashing out and get concussion and all that stuff before I could do it. And so then I look at it and so I was like, would I be able to do 25s, on the Dunlops versus Pirelli? I was like, probably, because then you have the dynamics of being out there on a grid. And then here I am again, dude. I'm a nobody, right? I've had no formalized training. Nobody's paid for anything for me. Like I said earlier, I'm the bank, I'm the crew chief, I'm the mechanic, I'm the transporter. I'm a one-man band,
Right.
And I'm like, dude, if I just had,
like most of us club racer types.
Yes. If I just had a sliver of help for a year, right? And I look at some of these guys, and sure, right? They're irrefutably faster than me. But
dude, I'm gonna tell you
actually
right
better
now,
than, like,
I'm just gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you. Yes. Some of them
for sure. 100%. Some of them for sure. But I'm talking the guys that we can catch. And
Yeah, I mean, and nowadays some of the guys that we've caught probably smoke us. I mean, seriously, like those guys, the difference is those guys are racing against faster people all the time, and they're getting those kind of quality laps, and they're having to get up to speed in a quicker way.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, they're better than us. They kick our ass. Like, I'm sorry, but sorry to break that news to you, but they're fucking better, dude.
No, dude. In no way, shape, or form. I'm saying like, am I talking about besting like people like Hayden Gillum and the other?
No,
No,
like I'm saying, like
but
like
like,
you're the workhorse guys that are in the
sure,
like outside the top 10 that you may or may not have beaten in a club race, and you're
I
like,
don't think they're
wow,
better than
dude.
me. No.
Yeah, I mean, I've
You know?
seen guys that were a couple years ago in the towards the front pointy end of stock 1,000, and I was like, dude, I beat that guy by 9 seconds at Chuck Waller. Like,
Dude, so Stock 1000 a couple years ago suffered from lack of talent in that fucking
uh-huh.
grid, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, I could be out there making top tens. You know, like it's because
it's been Stackter, to quote Ben
correct.
Smith, right? It's been
Stackter. I like
Stackter.
that. Yes, that is definitely an accurate description of that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, but some of that is racing, right? So some club weekends, perhaps if I know that you were going to beat me, but you wound up getting a mechanic or crashing, like say, hey, man,
Right.
at a certain point, must be present to win, right? So
Yeah.
if you couldn't make it due to logistical issues or whatever, and I was
Yeah.
there and you weren't, and hey, man, I'm the
It's
fastest
entirely
guy
on
that
you,
weekend.
right?
So
Yeah.
there is always that. But no, I think that at some point I'm pretty much apex that I believe what I believe is what I'm actually truly capable of. Without you know going back and jumping in a time machine and having
Right.
rich parents that could fund and I wouldn't
Yeah,
have
like,
to work
okay, we're
and
gonna go back in time. We're gonna give our
sure
parents the winning lotto ticket,
Sure.
and
And from the racing perspective, I'm very glad that we have the kids that are up and
yeah,
coming in the junior cup, in the twins class that are there.
Rookies Cup?
Rookies. But do I believe that most of them are truly at the raw center of it better a rider than I could have been or you could have been? No. I think we're kind of all the same. Within reason.
That's interesting.
I don't really believe it. If you
Yeah, like
really
Ben
stuck out to me.
Spies, like Joel is commenting, what about Ben Spies, Aaron Yates, and Matt Surfer Mladen taking a pic together? What do you think about that?
That was an awesome, yeah. So Mladen, he's got a head of hair on him, so good on him. I love following his Facebook page,
Rants? His
rants, because
rants?
he's real.
Dude,
So
Mladen has the best
I love it.
rants, doesn't he? Like,
You
he
know,
calls it like it is,
and
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 like,
so and so I really do, and he doesn't give me any discounts or anything like that. So I call it for this, but like Mike Felice from Metric Devil Motor, man, he's been my suspension guy for a few years, and I respect him because we disagree on a lot of shit. And so I see like that Mladenism in him, and he'll just call it, and he's like, John, you're just complaining, right? This is
wow.
fucked up, or you know what I mean, or like, but I kind of like that, and so sometimes. But he's also very receptive. So when I see Mladen's stuff and what he's talking about posting and like going back through and his stories between him and Ben Spies, like man, seeing those races were like awesome because they checked out,
Whole
right?
another
And
level
now,
of dude, right?
and that is something different, right? Because if I looked at those names that were finishing in the top 10 against those guys, right? And you're like, dude, those guys are no slouches. And you see Spies and Mladen on a different level, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like that's where you're like, yeah, like those are the big boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's great to read about that and hear about all the different training regimes and everything that they had, and it all it's fascinating to see. And I think maybe it was on one of the movies, documentaries, or whatever, talking about Ben Spies, how he used to sit in their big like ice baths before they got on grid because it's all about avoiding fatigue and getting tired, and regardless of how well trained you are
He
and
was
physically
doing
fit
it
you
before
are.
it was cool.
Correct. Yeah. Right. And hey man, you sit in that tub until last minute before you have to put your leathers on because you get hot, you get worked up, you get fatigued easier. That's when you make mistakes, and all that stuff matters at that level. And here I am, a nobody at a club level, and dude, my front brake lever, I can't tell you how many clicks of adjustment are in it, but I can squeeze it and be like, this is one click too much or too little. Like I don't like it. Like I like it right here.
You're a needy bitch.
I do 1,000%.
You're a needy bitch.
1,000% I am. And it's like, no, I want them where I want them. And so I would there'd be nothing more I'd love to be than a fly in the wall for like, in Top Rack's pit, when they're going over that or this or that. And I'm like,
they took a bike that hadn't won shit.
yeah,
and has ruined everybody with it.
And I just want to learn, right? I just want to be a sponge and learn and be like, hey man, what are they doing? Like what are they prioritizing? And I would just love to apply that
Yeah.
to the mere little no guy mortal me, and being like, cool, like what am I spending too much time on, and what am
Yeah.
I not spending enough time on,
Well, you
and
know what, dude?
really figure that stuff out.
I'm gonna go there with you because you
Yeah,
said something about like a guy that maybe doesn't have as much money as some of the other guys,
yeah,
and he goes out and he's still able to throw down and be pretty competitive. This past weekend, we saw a guy we haven't seen all year,
hmm
and he goes and he threw down in Super Sport this past weekend, and that would be number 64,
Joe Lamandry.
Joe Lamandry Jr.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, that kid, he has no money, right?
yeah,
He has, dude,
yeah.
if that kid had some help, man, I think he would be way
I know.
closer.
I know Corbo. He was there. Corbo was the guy that I dropped my bike off with. He does my motors. Um, and he was there helping him and doing that. And I
Yeah.
raced. Well, I would say I competed in the same race class as Lamandry earlier this year with Azra at some point, because he was doing,
Yeah.
I think, high 13s around there. And there's no way in hell he finished the race probably 8 seconds ahead of me. Right, it was a different zip code. It wasn't even the same race.
Right.
But to see him ride, I'm like, dude, that kid can ride, and it's those
Yeah.
guys, right? And it really makes you
Dude, it's
wonder.
a shame that
It's
he
a shame.
ended up with no ride this year. And,
Yeah,
he
it is.
goes, does a couple of club races, whatever, and then he shines, dude. Like,
Yeah,
given the opportunity, that kid throws down and shines.
yeah.
Like, he deserves a spot somewhere. Like,
Yeah, and it's harsh, right? Because that's a cruel reminder that life's just so unfair, regardless of the hobby, if it's motorcycles or sports or whatever. Who knows? Who knows how many Michael Jordans are out there that just went and it never came to fruition?
yeah.
Who knows how
Yeah.
many Matt Milladens are out there? And had a wrong
One.
family,
There's one.
right?
Um,
But like you never
So
know.
Joel's got a question for you. He says, we see Michaela Moore out there
Yeah.
riding and winning races and stuff, and I don't know what she's doing next season, but he's like, Joel's question is, why do you think that we don't see more black kids riding?
I
And mind
That's a
you,
great question. I have no idea.
have you seen
Um,
the Trackday staff? Like, we're pretty out
yeah,
there, right?
yeah.
But yeah, like when I went racing in the late 90s, um, before I went racing, this guy that worked at the same place that my dad did, Northrop Grumman, or it was called Aerojet back then. This guy, he was like a front running champion level club guy at Willow. His name was Kevin President. He was like, one of a couple of black dudes out there. So, and he ran the number 37, which I run to this day.
That's my number.
Yeah, number 37 is my
Hey,
number, bro.
No, that's my number. You
Yeah,
can't have it.
I've had it longer than you've been racing. So
Okay,
check your
well,
history book,
I,
bro.
I guess I'll allow that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, when I was able to get a 2-digit number at Willow and I got that number, I was so
Sure.
stoked because it was Prez's number.
Right.
And, but yeah, like I don't really see a reason why there's not more, but the thing is, like, what people don't realize is, or because we're doing it and this is all we give a shit about,
Yeah.
is that like we're not normal. Like normal
No.
people give a shit about ball sports and whatever the fuck
Dude,
else.
that's
And there you go.
yeah. I don't. When I think of accomplished black racers on two wheels, fucking James Bubba Stewart, man. Talk about a dude that just wiped the floor.
Yeah, dude.
And his infamous Bubba scrub that he would do over and you're like, and you see that. Talk about, okay, let's get away from road racing, like Mladen and okay, those guys can ride, but like, what about a dude that's flying a bike sideways, a dirt bike sideways through the fucking air with the foot peg, 6 inches off at the top of the
100%.
Like, how do you do that, right? And I try.
If
to
we knew that,
cross-train.
we'd be making money doing it, right?
I try to cross train, and I'm a huge bitch on motocross jumps. I do hair scrambles, anything more than like 5 feet of air, and you go fuck yourself, right?
Dude, dirt is for plant and vegetables.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's where I end up with.
Part of me kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that. I would probably look at, no bullshit, the demographics of where they're at within the United States. I'd be very curious of where they're, any
I mean, truthfully,
races
dude, like,
heavily populated, and then like does that culture facilitate that, right? Um, I don't know, but I think she's fucking crushing it.
dude,
I
Michaela
hope she.
Mora is badass, dude.
I don't
And she
follow it.
talks just as fast as she rides too, man. That girl is
Yeah.
something else.
I don't know. Does she have? I admit I haven't followed her as close as I probably should. Does she have a solidified ride for 25
I
yet, or is there
don't know
anything?
the answer to that.
I don't see
I don't
somebody's
think she's
missing.
doing BTR again.
Oh my god, no, that's beneath her. That's way beneath her.
Yeah,
That's fucking
yeah.
waste of
And
airtime.
then the other thing is that we got to talk about Christian Daniel, right? Like that's the kid in Rookies Cup, and he got renewed. He's riding Rookies Cup next year. And this past weekend in his ETC, Spanish Moto 2 thing or Moto 3 that he's been doing, dude, he got on the box. So like, last time I checked, that's a black kid. So like,
yeah, it's accomplished.
Joel, come on, dude. Christian Daniel, hello.
Yeah.
That kid could, he could be a future GP star. If you listen to the Red Bull Rookies Cup announcers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's a lot of probably the overwhelming majority of it is required to have the right. When I say background, it's just draw the luck, man. Some of us are just not as fortunate as others, and it's not fair, but that's the way it is. But if you have the right background of the terms of family and parents that are willing to facilitate that, I think of a family that gets involved and really supportive. And some of the first probably comes to mind is like Rocco Landers, right? Like,
yeah,
his
dude,
family is there,
known him his whole life,
right? And they really like eat, sleep, and breathe it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, obviously, again, another extremely accomplished racer. That guy can ride, but also he's got a family to back him, right? So that helps. That's a huge.
Well,
driving factor to help
Rocco's
himself.
family, his mom and dad basically sacrificed just about everything. To make it happen for him. And you know what? I mean, look at him. I mean, the kid is winning bagger races, and he's won Super Sport, he's won 400, he's won Twins. The kid's fucking won it. We needed the kid. Rocco needs to be on a super bike now. Right?
Sure. Yeah. No disagreement here. But my devil's advocate, kind of your devil's advocate is, where would Rocco be without his parents? Would his riding merits alone?
Jail. He'd be in prison.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think
that same could be said for across the board.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what sport or whatever. Like if your parents don't give a shit about you, then you're gonna be,
And that's honestly, that's why I think it matters most, and that's my long-winded way of going back to the original question. Is it's kind of the background and upbringing and what matters most of the kids. What they want to facilitate. My parents were keen on exposing my sister and I to everything as children. Sports, stick sports, ball sports,
right?
Everything, right? And my dad was pushing a little too hard on some stuff, and it kind of drove me away, but he was always big into motorcycles as a hobby. And then I got on them, and I'm like, dude, this is kind of my jam, right? So I grew up riding dirt bikes, and when he didn't force it upon me, that's why I found myself kind of wanting to do it. But myself, like most people, didn't get into the track stuff until as an adult. And then, you got a house, you got a relationship, you got mortgage, right? You got shit to worry about.
Yeah.
It's not it's a different situation,
Oh, by the way, Short Guy Moto just says that Michaela is going to be on Orange Cat's R7.
Nice. So she's staying in Twins.
Is that what she's going to do next year? I mean, if that's true, then that's badass, dude. Like that's that's a good step for her, I think.
I mean, she was clubbing Baby Seal to BTR, right? I get it, right? Like MotoAmerica's got to pay the bills, right? Hence the BTR thing. And so with racing, and it's been a discussion on the Weira forum. It's literally just today I was talking about it. But I think the racing community and it's too small. We're trying to slice. The pie is too small. We're trying to slice up the slice is too small, and everybody's suffering as a result.
Right.
When I think, and I get it, like this isn't feasible, but from hey, let's as a country, right? How do we strengthen the grids in MotoAmerica? How do we fill stock 1000s with all Hayden Gillums? How do we do that? How do we put Hayden Gilliams and Rocco Land? How do we do the entire grid?
I don't know.
And not dickweeds
Sell the
like me,
bikes. You know,
right?
bring back the proverbial $10,000 bike.
That would be a help. You know what I mean? People don't believe.
Like you buy the thing and set it
Sure.
up for racing for about 10. That'd be nice.
People don't believe
I
me
miss
when I
those
talk
days.
about they have no concept of like how much money you spend on it. Like, dude, everything. Like I pay my bills. I save some for retirement, and all my dude, I don't party. I don't go out in town. I don't go in the city. I don't drink. Everything I do. If you look at
Dude,
all my life
you
decisions,
sound like shit that's coming out of your mouth right now. I've said that
Yeah.
1,000 times over the last
all
25
revolves,
years.
right? In the off season, I wind up flipping bikes that I could find off of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace to help fund my race season. Everything I do
Yeah.
revolves around it.
Yeah.
Literally everything, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can make that barrier, which is financial, cheaper, you know, okay. So to go back to kind of like, hey, why don't we have more black people in it? I'm right outside Baltimore. Remember Travis Pastrana is from Annapolis, right? So he's Travis Pastrana. Who doesn't know that guy? He tried opening up a, and it didn't come to fruition. Outside Baltimore, a huge off-road MX park, because you have all those 12 o'clock boys that they bought stolen dirt bikes and they ride them through downtown Baltimore and they have all that stuff. And to be fair, a lot of those kids, right? They have that love and that passion for motorbikes, and they have no outlet. They have nowhere to go, right?
Right.
So then you're raised
12 o'clock boys. What?
You're raised in a culture that's glorifies breaking the law and doing all this stuff. But like, man, what if you had an off-road park that these guys could take that venue to and create the new Bubba Stewarts, right? Or what if you could have a cheap buy-in program for little road racing bikes or mini bikes, maybe for 250s or something like that, and they could go down and really get that outlet and get a
Not
chance.
just, and from that perspective, that wouldn't just be like the competition perspective, but also the working on the bikes and the the maintenance and the suspension setup and all that shit, and all that shit would be included in that somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cody Krager, his comment is pretty spot on. He's like, in order to have a strong professional national series, maybe we need to build up the amateur series a bit. Prop up the amateur series, and then next thing you know, you'll get a.
I think it's always going to suffer though, to some degree, even if we had a perfect fix. Because look at the ball and stick sport, right? Man, you want to go shoot some hoops, you need a basketball.
Right.
That's all you fucking need, right? Like you don't need gear, you don't need a suit,
you
don't need a bike, you don't need transportation, you don't need somebody that has mechanical knowledge to work on the motorcycle.
You need a ball.
Basketball.
You need a ball and the desire. Like if you want to ride a road bicycle, you need the fucking shoes, the pedals, the bottles, the cycling kit, the bibs, jersey, gloves, helmet, all that shit. And that's just getting you started, right? Then you got to bring food with you. Like it's a whole thing, dude.
Yeah.
So,
or what about Olympics and running? Like, what do you do? You just need
shoes.
Shoes, right? Just go run.
Fuck, you don't even need shoes, really.
You don't
right?
Really? Yeah, you call that training, right? I've been training, dude. Running barefoot.
Yeah,
right? You literally don't need anything.
Yeah. So I got one last question for you, man, and this is from Ed Joel, and he wants to know: at what point do you think you're going to stop racing?
Never.
How old are you?
37.
You're 37.
37.
Yeah.
So I'd answer that question with a short. How much time did I got? 5 minutes?
Ish.
2 minutes.
Like whatever.
2 minutes. Okay.
Like, wrap it up, dude. Like let's go.
Sure.
We're like an hour and 30 into this thing, bro.
Okay. So in the background, because I'm in my kitchen right now, I have my old endurance fairings from my team, Three Marines Racing. And so I could cut them in half, hung them on my kitchen wall because that's what I can do. So anyways, I started that team with three close friends. Started 4. Long story short, one got an injury on a dirt bike, and he was he's a partial paraplegic from the waist down. And then a few months later, in January 2017, he decided to end his life. So he committed suicide in the VA hospital. And so he and our mutual friend Rick Roberts, who actually ironically is also black, and another friend Eric, we started the team Three Marines Racing because Randy was the one that committed suicide. He took his own life. We decided to start this endurance series, and we're like, hey, this is what do we all have in common? Randy asked me. I said, hey man, I was like, well, we're all Marines. Let's call it Three Marines Racing, right? And so anyways, we only did one endurance round together. Randy took his own life. I decided to get the bike off of his sister during his estate. And so I purchased the bike. And so Three Marines Racing started the endurance series with N2 and Weira starting in 2017 for a multitude of years. Had never done it before. And we started as a team that was doing it in memory of a dear friend. And then we became competitive, and then we became the team to beat, right? So if you want to go on YouTube, you can punch in Three Marines Racing. You can see my YouTube channel. You can see the start of it, right? So that's how I made it. Anyway, to answer that question, I had a lot of friends. My mom and dad asked me after they took his life, they're like, "Hey, so like, John, like, what do you think about this bike stuff?" And so what they were asking without asking me is that, like, hey, your best friend had a life-altering motorcycle crash that resulted in, ultimately led to him taking his own life. And knowing him, like, knowing that he wouldn't be able to ride because he only had partial functioning of his arms. Even he wasn't even at the waist. It was at the chest. So, and I know him, right? And Dustin, you've been in sport way longer than I've been. I got, like I said, 12 years. But there's a core group of riders, right? We all have those friends that, like, even if you got to step away for family, financial, medical reasons, whatever it is, if you have to step away, you might look at that guy and you're like, Dustin's coming back, right? He's like, hey, I got to sell. I got to do this. And on the East Coast, our track days and racers usually they have a 3-year lifespan, 3 years, and they're in and out on average. 2 to 3 years.
That's strong.
Get at the advanced group, do a couple of seasons of racing, get your white plates, and you're like, fuck, I spent too much on my credit cards and I'm out. But Randy, my best friend Tim Wilson that I met because of Three Marines Racing, and I hit him up to do the endurance stuff with, and all the folks afterwards. We all have one thing in common, is that we're all just riders, like, how long were we doing this? Like, dude, until I'm done. Tim, he's 64 years old. And he's fucking faster than me. He's my best friend. He's a mentor. I look to him. I ask him, like, how do I get faster? And he's kicking ass, right? At over 60 years old. And I look at him, and every day he's an inspiration. And so to answer that question, long story long, it's like, you got it or you don't, right? You're either a rider or you're not. And I will do whatever it fucking takes to keep on riding. And once I realize I hit my limit, and I'm like, dude, I'll be that old fat guy that's just coaching, right? And just never does another A group session again. But son of a bitch, man, I'm going to be out there turning laps because, all the hundreds of hours that we do in the off season away from the track scene to make it work, the overtime at work and garage hours and everything we do just to make it out there. Once you're out there, you're ripping, the bike's running good, the weather's feeling good, and it's just you and your buddies ripping, and that's everything, right? That's life.
100%, dude.
So, like I said,
dude, I hope you guys are listening to this. This is gold, dude. Right? Like,
so
wow.
You're either going to do it or you're not.
Yeah, facts.
And so if you do it, you'll make it happen. I've made career altering decisions. I'm closing in on 17 years in the Marine Corps, and I've made assignments on duty stations. I'm like, well, okay, which tracks are closest to this place? What can I do? I was like, okay, I can do deployment, get some experience.
You're like, I'm gonna head out to 2-9er next time.
Yeah, right, dude. I got seat time, and I got seat time in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, right, on motorcycles, because I could do it, right. So, like, I make it happen. Yeah, man, you either got to do it, you either got it.
Well, John, you know what, man? Thanks for filling in for Ricky Bobby. First of all, that wasn't our intention. Like, he was in there, dude. He kind of gave up. He kept trying to jump back in, but yeah, dude, it was a super fun chat, and yeah, man. And now I don't have to listen to Chunky Buns yelling at me that I have to have you on now.
Yeah. No worries. No, this is
super
great.
Fun having you on, dude. Good little chat about random stuff for an hour and a half, man. It was great.
Randomness is what I do. So let me know, whatever it is.
Yeah, dude. Well, you know what? We're gonna call that a wrap now. And thanks everybody in the comments for jumping in and talking smack about basketball and stuff, I guess, and whatever else. And I guess I think Ricky Bobby said there is a race this weekend, right? So
yeah, it's another GP weekend.
We're probably going to have an episode of Weekend Hangover next week, and hopefully Ricky Bobby's internet issues and Taco Bell internet will be resolved. So thanks again for watching this thing, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.